So hello guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is my first video. So today we are going to make an edge calculator, a JavaScript edge calculator, and this is how it's going to look like with a button calculate. So this is how this calculator works. When we don't have a value here and the user calculates directly without giving the value, a date value, it's going to give an alert, a pop-up alert somewhere here. So, and when they give the value and calculate, it's going to output the edge here. To make this calculator, we need these steps, the HTML steps, we need the CSS steps, and we need the JavaScript steps. We need to complete all these steps for the calculator to work. So basically, for the JavaScript part, there are two functions involved: the function calculateAge and the function getAge and the function calculateAge. Let's just go ahead and start the structuring, and then we style it, and then we complete the project with the JavaScript steps. So yeah. So guys, the first thing, we need to create a folder on the desktop. You can create anywhere you like, and of course we shall name it JavaScript Edge Calculator. After creating the folder, we shall open VS Code and open the folder which is on the desktop. Then we have to create a file, a HTML file. Name it index.html. Okay. So the first thing, as usual, we have to type in the HTML structure. We just write the exclamation and press enter like that. And the next thing, obviously, we need to create a title for our project, JavaScript Edge Calculator. So the next thing is to design the body, how we want the calculator to look like. So we are just going to create a div, the class container. Okay. And within the container, we need several things like h1, a header. We just name it also JavaScript Edge Calculator. We need a label tag. Let's just create a separate div. Click label for birthday, and for the placeholder we just write enter your date of. We also create another div, and inside this div we need an input. The type of input is going to be get with an ID of birthday, and the name also we call it birthday. After the input, we need a button. Placeholder, we can just write calculate. Okay, so inside the button we need an ID. We're going to use this ID for the JavaScript, so let's just call it btn. The last thing, for our body we need a paragraph. The paragraph, we need a placeholder also. We shall just say your age is 10 years. I think we also need a class. We need a class for the paragraph that we can style it in the CSS. Style this paragraph in the CSS. So let's just call it result is okay. Okay, I think this is it for the body part. This is it. So let's head on to the CSS part. Just create a file here and name it style.css, and of course we link the CSS in the head section of the HTML, so that when we style it, it will load in the browser. So link CSS. Okay, so we just do the same for the JavaScript file also, which you are going to handle after the CSS. So just write script and choose the third option, and we can write either index.js, we can write main.js, whatever we want. So after linking the CSS and the JS file, we are going to open our HTML document using the live server, which we can just go here, down here, and say go live. Okay, as you can see, this is how the JavaScript looks like. So we need to add some CSS to make it look at least okay. For the CSS, the first thing I want to do is to choose a font for our project. The font, I will just go on Google and just Google font. Just choose this option. Head on to the Google fonts, and I just type here Poppins. I always like to use. So here it is, and I think we need this one. I think I already selected, so it has just remembered it. So 300, 400, 500, 600, 7 and 8. I think these ones are okay. So to get the get the link, the URL for it, just go here on top here. Then we want to import the URL and just take it here, just copy it and paste in our CSS directly. So yeah, after pasting the URL, and now start styling our project. So the first thing, I think we need to Windows, we need to divide it so that we can see here clearly or whatever we do. So the first thing is to start with the body. The body is this one from here until down. The body. So just type body. The body. Okay, we want the font. We start with the font. Just come here, copy this font, the font family, copy it, and come with paste here. You can see it has changed. Then we need a background color. Background color, we shall have it as RGB. Then I think RGB with a RGB with a 255 251. I think will be okay also. 251. And then the last one for the blue, just give it 0. And that's okay. That's a good color. Then we need to remove this margin here. We need it to be 0. The margin on the left side, we need it to be 0. Oh, sorry, not on the left side, but we need to remove the margin for the top, bottom, left, and right. So that one we shall just give it 0. After removing it, we can instead give it a padding. Okay, padding is okay. Padding of 20 pixels is okay. But it moves like this. You see? Okay, that is it for the body. You can now style the container. You see this container, that's this glass container which contains everything inside. So the glass container, yes, yeah, right, glass container, install it. The first thing we need for this container is a background color. You can go with white. White is okay. So we need to define the max width. Max width 500 pixels is okay. See this one from here to here. Need it to be 500. That is 500. So some padding so that here this part moves at least on the right side. So padding 20 pixels. So as you can see, we have some space here, some space this side on top and bottom. Just need a border radius. Sorry, the radius. Border radius of 5 pixel. Border radius of 5 pixel. These borders. These ones, the edges. A box shadow. Box shadow. Box shadow. 0 for the horizontal. 6 pixels for the vertical. Pixels for the. So, for the RGB we need the RGBA. We need up to have 0. So 0. The blue we also need it to be 0. And alpha value. And just have 0.5. You can see this is the border shadow, how it looks like. Okay, we need a margin on the top here, so that we move it a bit towards the center. So margin on top, say 150 pixels. Okay. So, and we can also move it from the left by 50%. Most, yeah. So as you can see, the container, our container, this is how it looks with the items inside it. So the next thing, let's cite the H1 or H1. H1, we give it a font size of 30 pixels. 30 pixels. Color. Color with our RGB. Okay, this one we can give it one, and we can give it 101. The other one we can give it 54. The blue can be 230. Okay, like that. So the next thing, we need to align the text. We need to align the text, and we shall give it a align text start, so that it remains always on here at the starting point here. So that one is okay like that. We need the margin at the top to be 0. That okay, so that it moves a bit towards the top. And for the margin bottom, and pixels is okay. So that we have some space between the label and the title. Okay, that is it for the H1. We head on to the label. The label we only need to specify the font weight, and we can just say bold so that it looks this way. That one is okay. Okay. So we need also to style this input so that it also looks okay. And like input. For the input, we also need to specify a max width, and we can give it 300 pixels. Okay, 300 pixels maximum. We need it at least to, okay, not at least, we need it to have 300 pixels maximally. So, and we need the width to be 100%. We need it to take whole of the measurement. So this way. The border, we need to have its border. Its border will have 1 pixel solid black. Black. We can just say color is okay. And let's add some padding. 8 pixel. Okay, 8 pixel is okay. So you can see it has increased in size at least. And border radius of 5 pixels. Okay. So as you can see, the edges have at least a border radius. The edges. The next element we need to target is a button. Okay, is okay. So the button, we give it some padding. We also want to increase its size a little bit. And 10 pixels is okay. As you can see, this is how it looks. And some background color of yellow. And the color of the text, this text here, this one, calculate, we need it to be black. Border radius, we can have it as 5 pixels. Radius, so that it looks okay. Border color, the border color, you can just say and we just say pointer, that when we point here, when we point it, we just have a finger like pointer. Okay, so for the button, we also need to add a color, so that when we hover around it, we need it to have a different color, not remain yellow. So button with a pseudo class hover. We need the background to be background color to have just a pick out as CSS, and is it 76? Okay, so, and we need to add some transition, so that when we hover it works. So the transition for this background color, this one, we need it to be color 0.3 seconds. Is okay. Is okay. So when we hover, you see it changes color. That's okay. So the last part is we need to style this one. This we gave it a class result. This one over here. We need to style it also. So it's a class, and we just copy it here. It's a class. We need to start with a dot. Yeah, okay. Font size is okay. Be around 25 pixels. I can just say 24 is okay. Font weight, you can also say bold, so that this is how it looks. And we need to add some margin on top, so that it moves away from this area, this input. So margin top, we give it around 50 pixels. 50 pixels. So this is how after the CSS, this is how it looks like, our project. Yeah, so this is how it looks like. The next thing we need to do now is to add the interactivity using JavaScript, so that when we click calculate, it calculates the edge. So yeah, this is it. Let's head to the JavaScript now for the final part of it. So for the JavaScript part, we also need to create a file, index.js. Okay, so let's just expand this one also. So the first thing is to select or target specific elements from the HTML. That's the first step in the JavaScript. So the first one we need, I think, is this. We need to target this paragraph here, this paragraph, and we just target it by using this class for copy, and we come and say const result. We just name it result element is equals to, and we just want to get this element by saying document dot query selector, and just since it's a class, we need to put a dot there. So yes, the next element is we need to target this button, and we just do it so by using its ID. So button element, just name it button element. It's an ID, so we just target it by document dot get element by ID. Yes. So, and we paste it there. Since it's not a class, we are not going to put a dot here. So yeah, the next element is need to target this input, and we shall just target it by using its ID, which is a birthday. So we just say here, okay, to make it easy, we just copy here and paste it. Shift Alt and down arrow, and we just name it birthday element is equals to, then we paste here our ID. Yeah. So after selecting or after targeting these elements from the HTML, the first thing we need to do now is to define the functions. So the first function is we going to define the function getAge. Yeah, function getAge, and just open the curly braces. So the first thing is to define the variables inside that function, and the first variable is const present date is equals to new date. Yes, okay. So this constructor here, this one, it gets the current date and time. It retrieves the current date and time. So the next variable is need to we need to define another variable, and it is birthday date is equals to new date also. And with this variable, we need to pass in here some value, and the value we're going to pass here is you just say birthday value. Okay. So what this variable does, this one here, it gets the current date and time, but for this one here, it represents this variable represents the birthday value of the person using the calculator. So what we are going to say now is we're just going to say age, let age that person is equals to present date present date of that time that the person is using the calculator. So dot a method called get full year, this one, and subtract the birthday date of the person. With this method also, we just copy it and paste it here. So the next thing, we need to get the difference in months. We need to get the difference in months because months can also affect the age of a person. So for instance, a person who is born after for instance, September, in the month of September, after the month of September, is not the same age as a person who is born before September. For instance, let's say June. So we need to get the difference in months, and we are just going to say here, we are just going to say constant month is, is equals to the present date. Just copy here to make it easier, and and replace here get month. Here also we need to replace month. So yeah, this is it. So after getting the difference in months, we need to define a condition here and we just say if month is less than 0, if month is less than 0, or this syntax here means or in JavaScript. So if month is less than 0, or month the month strictly equal to 0. Again, this one means strictly equal when it compares two variables. So if the month is strictly equal to 0, and the present date dot get date the person of that time um, is less than the birthday date dot get date. So if so, what this means, this syntax, uh, this syntax over here, it's used to, we use this syntax to, this syntax here, this syntax checks, it checks if the birth month has not occurred yet in the current year that the person is using the calculator, or it also checks if it is the same month but the birthday day, the birthday has not yet reached. So after checking this condition, after checking it, if the condition is met, if either condition is met, this one or here or this one here, if it is met, it means the person has not had their birthday already. So the age variable is decreased by 1. So so we are just going to say over here, down here, just going to open the curly braces, and we decrease the age by 1. So we just write age and dash, just like. So finally, after this function is executed, it returns the age, the calculated age. We just say return age, so that after this has occurred, we just say age, return age. So the last function is a function calculate age. So we just write function calculate age. So within with so in this function, we are just going to define this value here because we had not defined it yet. We are just going to define it and say constant the value. We must function. We we must define it first. So is equals to, and what we are going to do is to define it. We need to use this element here. We need to use this element. So you remember it's here, this one, the input, we targeted it by this one here. So we are going to say birthday value is equals to that value. So after defining the birthday value, we need to use the if and else statements to get the age. So the first one, you just say if this birthday value here, the birthday value, this one we have defined, if the value is equals to is equals to an empty string. This one represents an empty string. If it's empty, if the birthday value is empty, meaning if the person using the calculator has not yet uh, selected their birthday, if they have not selected, we need to give an alert. So we are going just to define the alert, and we say if they have not yet selected their birthday, we just say please select your birthday. Okay, so there are two options here. It says that the person will provide their birthday. They will not provide, they will just go ahead and say calculate without providing the birthday, or they will key in their birthday value. So if they key in, we are just going to say else. If they key in, then we just going to say let their age is equals to getAge. Just going to say let their age be getAge function with the birthday value inside. So their age will be this function here with their birthday value. So the same way we are going to copy this here and paste it inside the function. So yeah, so if they provide their birthday, if they key in their birthday in the calculator, this one is going to be executed instead of this one. Okay, yeah. So after saying that, the next thing is we need to set this value here. You remember this one in the HTML, this paragraph which represents this one here. We need to set it dynamically. Okay, we need to set it dynamically so that it changes depending on what input that the user provides. So we are going to target it we are just going to select result element. So, and come here, we say result element dot inner text is equals to. So I'll just explain. Let me just write it first. We open a backtick and say your page is $sign, and open the curly braces. We write edge, and again we write $sign, curly braces, right edge, and say greater than 1, and this yeah, and say yes. Yeah, inside outside there we say old. So this syntax here, this one, it means we are targeting the HTML element. This one result, we are targeting this paragraph here. So what inner text does, inner text sets the text content of that element, the paragraph element. It sets it to look like this dynamically, like this one here. So and this one here, this one is just like a placeholder for the person's age, the person that will be using the calculator. It's just a placeholder, and it's replaced with the actual age of the person, the age value of the person using the calculator. And this one here, which we write starting with the $sign and the curly braces, this syntax from here to here, the syntax checks if the age is either greater than 1 or if it's less than 1. So if it happens that the age is greater than 1, it adds years. And if the age is 1, it just adds year. If the age is 1 or less than 1, it adds the year instead of years. So that's basically what it means. Yeah. For this function to work, we need to add an event listener. So that means we are going to target the button. You remember this button here, we need to target it. We already did so we are just going to select button element and come here, say button element dot add event listener. The event listener, we are just going to say click because it's just about clicking. So click, and calculate age, the function. So when the calculator user clicks on the button, this function is going to be executed, which means calculating the age. So I think here we did a mistake. It should be capital M, and also here capital M. Now let's see how our calculator works. So just going here. When we don't put here inside here any value and say calculate, we just get this alert. Please select your birthday. So let's just go ahead and select. Okay, let's just choose here some random date. Sorry, can just choose 208 and September maybe 10th. So and we just say calculate. As you can see, the age is 14 years old. And um, what if we choose a date that is before September 10th the same year? Let's see what happens. So let's say we choose in the month of June, June 10th of 2008. So let's just calculate. So you see it's 15 years old. Okay, that is it for this one. So this is it for the calculateAge. See you in the next project.